Hello everyone, my name is Angie and welcome back to my channel, Angie Rose Nomad. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than what I normally do on my channel, but I was inspired by March Mystery Madness to do this video, and it is going to be my mystery show and podcast recommendations. So we're going to start with the mystery shows and then work our way into podcast. In the show category, I have some game show slash reality show, and then some fictional shows, and then in podcasts they are all true crime podcasts. And I really don't know why this evening my lighting is looking darker than normal, so yeah, we're just gonna roll with it. I think it's because I don't have one of my lamps up high enough. It's not beaming down like a sun ray, beaming down. Okay, so quick disclaimer that I watch a lot of mystery shows, or have watched a lot of mystery shows in the past. So this is in no way a complete list of every single show that I love, but I was going through and getting ideas and I was like, ooh, there's that show. Oh, I have to talk about that show. So not every single show is on here. That would take a really long time to do this video. Okay, I'm going to start with the reality-game shows. And the first one is no surprise. I have mentioned this countless times on my channel, and that is The Mole. There is an American version, an English version, an Australian version, the Netherlands, Belgium, and I believe Poland. The only ones that I know still running for certain are the Netherlands and Belgium. I think Poland might be as well. I've been trying to look for it with English subtitles, cannot find it anywhere. But the format of this show is that you have a group of contestants that are all trying to complete these challenges, and every time they successfully complete a challenge, they get money for the pot. However, there is someone working against them to keep as much money out as possible, and that person is known as the Mole. So each week they have to take a test, and whoever does worse on the test goes home. The test is 20 questions, I believe, on the identity of the mole. So it can be anything from what position was the mole in this challenge to what did the mole have for breakfast. I really love this show. I've droned on about it enough times for you guys already. You can find The Mole, Australian, English, American, and the Netherlands all on YouTube. And then the Belgian version is available online. The Netherlands version actually links to it on her YouTube channel, so it's really easy to track down. Okay, and then the second and last reality-game show that I'm going to talk about is The Murder Game. This is a UK-based reality game show where this group of contestants is trained as police investigators, and then they go to this fictional town where they have to solve a murder. And each week, 2 investigators are sent out into the field to a different location. One will come back with a clue, and the other one is killed off the show. When I was a kid and watching the American version, which is known as Murder in Small Town X, I was petrified. I thought people were dying. I was so scared. Little embarrassing fact about me. Murder in Small Town X is the one that I originally found, but then I saw The Murder Game, which was basically the same thing, and I just love The Murder Game so much more. They are both available on YouTube, but Murder in Small Town X is real crap quality. And then The Murder Game, the first episode, it's just them going through police school. We actually don't get into the story until the second episode. So if you're not really interested in them training to become police officers, you can skip the first episode. Next up, we have a show from my teenage years, and that is Veronica Mars. Season 1 of Veronica Mars follows a teenage girl named Veronica as she is trying to find out who killed her best friend, Lily Kane. And her father was a sheriff and very well respected. Veronica was one of the popular girls. And then her dad arrested someone, and it made the Mars family a pariah. So he was not reelected to the position of sheriff and instead opened his own investigation firm where Veronica would go and help him with cases like cheating spouses or what have you. and she decides that she is going to look back into the murder of Lily. That is season 1. I don't want to go on to, I think there are 3 seasons and a movie, and I don't want to spoil anything. It's just a beautiful show directed by Rob Thomas. It's fantastic. I loved it. The next show is one that I actually did not finish, but I adored the first season, and I believe the second season as well, and that is Homeland. This has Claire Danes and Damian Lewis, I think his name is, but Claire Danes is a CIA operative, and they eventually get a prisoner of war back. He has been gone for many, many years, but she is convinced that he has been turned by Al-Qaeda and is going to carry out a terrorist attack on American soil. However, not a lot of people believe her because she is bipolar, but also because Damian Lewis's character, who is the prisoner of war, is just so celebrated and everyone is just so eager to welcome him home. And the tension in this show is just always ramped up. I just remember being on the edge of my seat and wanting to find out what happened. And as soon as I thought I knew the answers, something else would happen that would just erase what I thought and go in a completely different direction. I don't remember how many seasons of the show there were, but I remember I kind of petered away around season 3. So next I have Big Little Lies. Now this is based off of the book by the same name by Liane Moriarty, and I don't remember what channel it was on. I want to say it was Showtime, but it follows this group of women in California. I'm really great at this. In the book, they're in Australia. That's why I'm kind of hesitant. So it follows this group of women, but you're also trying to figure out who died at this benefit fundraiser and who killed the person that died. And it's just really well done. I think the music for that show is on point. I loved it. And they are coming out with a season 2. Now, Liane is not releasing a sequel to Big Little Lies, but she is writing like a special book for the cast so they can have a script for season 2, which I found really interesting. So we'll see if she releases it or not. She said she's not going to, so I believe her, but I really liked it and I can't wait to see where they go with season 2. So this next show I have so many mixed emotions about, and that is The Killing. This is the American version. I have heard that there is a Nordic noir type version of The Killing, which I've been meaning to check out. I've heard it's fantastic. The American version I was so obsessed with. Season 1, I was there, I was for it, I was invested, giving a show my full attention, which I don't believe I have to tell you guys this, being fellow readers, but I am not a huge TV watcher. Most of the time I pick, things that I don't really have to concentrate on because I usually have a book in my hand. Because it's really hard for me to sit through an hour-long show without fidgeting or, journaling or crafting or reading, things like that. So it's really, for me to not read and be completely focused on a show, it's got to be really good. And I was so invested with The Killing. I wanted the payout to be huge, and it just went down. It follows the story of this town where this girl, Rosie Larson, has been murdered, and these police officers are trying to figure out what happened. And by midway season 2, I turned it off. I was so discouraged. I thought, they're never going to provide us answers. This is one of those shows that just kind of strings you along and then wants to add more to the story just to get you as confused as possible. However, when I was doing my research for this video, there was a list of shows that I was referencing just to jog my memory of what I've watched and what I want to watch. And The Killing was on there. And they said not seasons 1 or 2 because they were terrible and they flopped, but season 3 was fantastic. So now I have to go check out season 3 because if they are able to admit on this website that season 1 and season 2 were terrible, then I kind of trust their opinion because I thought the same way. So we'll see what I think about season 3. But if you decide to watch The Killing, I recommend just skipping over seasons 1 and 2. The last 2 shows I have not watched yet, but they are very high on my priority list. And the first is Broadchurch. Now this has David Tennant, so it is way up there for me because I am a huge Doctor Who fan, and number 10 was my favorite Doctor. So I'm going to read you guys the description because I'm not going to be able to remember. It says, when the corpse of an 11-year-old British boy, Danny Lammeter, is found bloodied and dirty on an idyllic beach, a small Dorset community becomes the focus of a police investigation and media madness. Out-of-town Detective Inspector Alec Hardy gets the point position over Detective Sergeant Ellie Miller, who feels the job should have been hers. Now she must engage in an efficient working relationship with taciturn Hardy. Slowly, more members of the community of Broadchurch are drawn into the investigation. While dealing with so much unwelcome attention, Danny's family tries to cope with its grief. When a suspect is named in charge, the ensuing trial sees the defendant promising to expose more of the townspeople's secrets. And I also believe they did an American version, but I heard that one is not really worth your time. So this one, definitely going to check out soon. Another tip that I have heard about Broadchurch is do not binge it because it is so heavy and it kind of takes away that mystery aspect. If you binge it, you don't really get to build up and wait for another episode. So take Broadchurch easy if you do decide to watch that one. So many of my shows that I have written down that I would like to watch are mystery type things that it was really hard, but I've decided to only give you guys 2 shows that I want to watch, and the second show is Happy Valley. This is about a police sergeant named Catherine Cawood, dealing with a personal tragedy while investigating drug cases in Calder Valley, a small town in West Yorkshire. Wow, that was a really great description, but I've heard fantastic things about this one. So those are the TV shows that I either really, really liked or, in the case of The Killing, want to give a second chance to or want to watch. Now we're going on to podcasts that I really enjoy. These are all true crime podcasts. And the first is Real Crime Profile. So this is told from 3 people. We have Laura Richards, Jim Clemente, and Lisa Zambetti. And Laura and Jim are very active in the criminology scene. They're both very well educated, have multiple degrees. Jim actually is a writer and producer on Criminal Minds, and Lisa is the casting director for Criminal Minds. So like I said, Jim and Laura are very well educated, and I think Lisa adds that really good counterbalance. So there are some times when either Jim or Laura would just kind of go off into more scientific things. It doesn't happen often, but I would just think to myself, what? And Lisa would kind of be the voice of me, and it was great. I really, really love this show. They take a really in-depth dive into what is going on. So it is not a serialized podcast, meaning it's not telling one story over 12 or 14 episodes, but rather they look at a case and they either go from 3 episodes per case to quite a few. I don't remember how many OJ had. I know he had quite a bit of episodes just on the OJ case. They've also covered Oscar Pistorius. They did a CBS documentary on JonBenet Ramsey. I don't think they talked about that on their podcast, but JonBenet's brother Burke is actually suing CBS, and I don't know if he is suing Laura and Jim or not. I know he has a lawsuit out for CBS. I think they already settled that. But really, really fantastic podcast if you like going more in depth with your true crime. So another podcast that goes extremely in depth into their cases is Undisclosed. This has 3 hosts, Rabia, Susan, and Colin, and they are all involved in the law scene. This is a serialized podcast, so they look at one case for an entire season. And I originally discovered them because of the podcast Serial. So I didn't discover Serial until probably a month after the last episode had been released. So I was able to binge it. But when I got to the end, I was so upset with how it ended. So I was doing a little bit more research, and a couple of podcasts popped up that they had kind of like a Serial spinoff where they were discussing Adnan's case further, and undisclosed was one of them. And they went so far into details about what was going on, about things that Sarah Koenig from Serial presented, and added additional research onto that. So I felt like I got a more detailed picture that way. I do have a couple more to recommend. The last serialized podcast is Up and Vanished. This is presented by Payne Lindsay, and the first season he is trying to find out what happened to this beauty queen, Tara Grinstead. I think it was in Georgia that she vanished from, and there has actually been a ton of progress in the case. And I don't want to say anything more. I don't want to spoil it for you, but just listening to the beginning of the podcast and seeing the investigation that Payne goes on to get to the end result, he is basically like me watching anything true crime or mystery related whatsoever. He starts at point A and investigates one person and oh nope, gotta rule them out, and then goes to another person and then nope, gotta rule them out, and then he gets a piece of information and it brings a whole bunch of more people into light that he was never even considering. It is a fantastic podcast. It's really easy to listen to. You should check it out. So the remaining podcasts are episode by episode, meaning they cover one case per episode, and then the next case will be someone different. So the first one I have to recommend for these type of podcasts is True Crime Garage. So it is told by two guys, Nick and the Captain, that are just having a couple of beers and sharing a story, and it is great. Sometimes their theories get involved, but they usually don't overweigh the information that they're presenting, if that makes sense. So when I'm listening to a case that I am passionate about and know a lot about, it's hard for me to talk about because my theories and my opinions get in the way and I kind of twist it, but not really in True Crime Garage. It's also a very lighthearted take on the whole true crime thing, even though they do cover like some pretty grisly topics and cases. I find it can be quite funny at times. The next one I really enjoy is Case File. This is an Australian host. I don't know who it is. I've tried to look and the website just says anonymous, but it's seriously true crime ASMR. Like, that's how I see it. His voice is so relaxing. He does a great job of not including his theories at all. He just presents the case, but he goes so far into detail. It is amazing. I really like it, and each week there is a different case. So the last one I just started listening to. I haven't gotten very far into their playlist quite yet, but I think I'm really going to enjoy it, and it is called Nothing Rhymes with Murder. The hosts of this are two women. I don't remember their names. I think one of them is Georgie, maybe. But it's very similar to, I guess, My Favorite Murderer, where they're kind of chatting back and forth, and then they're going to discuss their case with each other. I think they each present a case, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, not very far into it. But what I really like about this podcast so far is that you guys all know that I really love travel, and they go to different countries and talk about cases that you might not have ever heard of before. So rather than, just discussing the same true crime case that I have heard through multiple different podcasts and YouTube channels, I have never heard of the majority of these, and yeah, I think that is very refreshing, and they are kind of dark humor, kind of light-hearted, while discussing the serious subject matter, much similar to True Crime Garage. So there you have it, guys. Those are some mystery show and podcast recommendations. If you have any recommendations of your own similar to this, leave them down in the comments below. I would always love to go check out new things. So as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, let me know by giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to become part of the tribe if you have not already. I do post new bookish videos every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I will see you very soon. Bye!